Rick, how did you adapt to becoming a studio player? Because another topic David and I constantly addresses, there's a big difference between live playing and studio playing. What were the instruments you were using? What techniques were you using?
Well, basically, I mean, I've always been a Fender guy, like you've got behind you there.
Yeah.
And I've tried other basses like Rickenbackers and stuff like that. But I always stuck with the precision and mainly used either an Ampeg amp in the studio with the bass, and you always get a good sound. Right. And I pretty much stuck with it. I've always used my fingers. I didn't like using a pick. I didn't like that clicky sound. So I've always used my fingers, which sometimes is a disadvantage, especially when you've got to go out on a long tour. You start off the tour with very sore fingers for a while, because you play so differently on stage to what you do in the studio. It's a whole different pulse to it.
Right.
But that's how my tech really, what happened was I used to go to the studio a lot because Jerry got the job with Humble Pie, as you probably know.
Right.
Steve Marriott chose him. Well, actually, Peter Frampton chose him. And then Steve left the Small Faces and asked to join Humble Pie, much to their surprise. So it was like the first supergroup. So I would go to Olympic Studios in London and watch them record a lot with Glyn Johns as their producer. And I learned a lot from watching those guys in the studio because they were really good. I mean, Peter Frampton's a fantastic guitar player, believe you me. As you probably know, Greg Ridley's a great bass player. And they just invited me in. I would just sit there rolling joints most of the time for something to do and listen to them play. And they were just so right on it. It was all live. It was set up like a live band in front of the control room. And, each night they would just come in and play 2 or 3 songs. And I loved it. I learned a lot from them. I really did.
Watching them, just the temperament that it takes to be a studio musician.
Yeah. I mean, it's you've got to be under control. I mean, Glyn Johns was a wonderful producer and engineer, and he didn't take it about any messing about. You got in the studio at 7 o'clock in the evening, and by 11 o'clock, if you hadn't got 2 or 3 tracks down, there was something wrong. So they weren't in there to just have fun. It was work. It